Hey there, it's Trisha with Easy E-mini Trade, and I'm just going to show you something that's set up on NQ this afternoon. And you'll use the cumulative delta on any of the instruments, on any of the entries that you're using. It doesn't matter what your setups are, but you can make use of it. And as always, thanks Gord S. Webinar tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Still a few spots open. If anybody's interested, just go to my site, easyeminitrade.com, and click on the tab at the top of the page for upcoming webinars. So let me just show you real quick what you might find helpful from today. So you're looking at NQ on a 1-minute chart, and like I've said before, it doesn't matter what size chart or style chart you're looking at. I'd like to trade off range charts, but I do have a setup I like to take off the 1-minute chart. So you can put the cumulative delta on any size chart, a 15-minute, 5-minute, a range, a tick, totally up to you. So this morning starting out on NQ, this is like right at 9:35. This is the value area, this area that you see in blue. This green line right up here, dashed line, that is yesterday's high. Got the VWAP here. Blue and red based on where the bars are forming above or below. This is 50% fib retracement area. And the purplish dark lines that you see are areas of support and resistance that I mark on my entry charts based on the 15-minute chart. You know, that's just what I find helpful. Everybody needs to do what they find most helpful based on their trading style. And then this yellow line that you see here is yesterday's close. So pretty sideways this morning. Anytime you take a trade when it's very sideways and congested, and you can tell it's congested in this area because of all this volume piling up over here at these price levels. So realistically, you could short at resistance, buy at support. You just need to be very aware of realistic targets to use in the event that price gets stuck. So you can continue to trail your stop or just have a set target area based on where support is. But what you can do is, you know, for example, you're up at resistance here, hitting yesterday's high here and here. And so let's say that you wanted to, and I'm not saying to do this right, you know, into the open, but just for the sake of example, if you're hitting resistance and you want to short resistance and you're using the cumulative delta, and that is coming up to a resistance area, then you can time it on a smaller entry chart, looking for divergence off that area if you want. Totally up to you how you want to enter those. But if it's holding resistance on the cumulative delta and it's holding resistance on price, you can short it, anticipating it trading down to the next, you know, down to support. And same thing here, when it attempts to try to get through right here, if it's hitting resistance, then you can look to short it. And if it's hitting resistance here, which it was, it created a new resistance area on the cumulative delta based on this little area back here, right here, where it was last holding. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to move that, right there. So now that support area would become resistance. So if it's trading through it, cumulative delta is trading through it with buyers coming in, you're going to be cautious trying to short your resistance area. So it worked, and then you would move this up to now this area here that was holding. And then if you're going to try to short this again, you would be cautious because now you can see, you know, buyers coming in, pushing it through that area of resistance. So up here at the fair value area high, that would be another spot that would be considered a resistance area. So that's hitting resistance up there. You're hitting resistance right here, and that was from earlier. So you could short off that area there. And again, drilling down to a smaller range chart or tick chart, realistically, if you have divergence off that area, you can just short it, anticipating support of being yesterday's high, and then back down in this area here. So wherever it was last holding up, once it gets through, then you look to the next area for support. So you can do the same thing with any of your entries that you take. We had looked at a 15-minute chart from, a 5-minute chart from earlier, And I always look for bottoming tails or topping tails for areas to look for breakdowns. And I have this area here that I marked at 35.25 and 32.50. And if you scroll a little further left from pre-market, you can see the same area gave us a bottoming tail here about 3 o'clock this morning. So that's telling us that buyers stepped up in that area a couple times. When I closed the room, I told everybody I would not be too keen on taking a breakdown in that area, but if you got a setup on one of the smaller charts, you might be interested in, shorting that area, because you need momentum. If you're going to take a breakdown or breakout, you're going to have some momentum in order for it to follow through. So if you look at the 1 minute chart in that area around 11:30, right here, you can see, if somebody took a breakdown, it worked out, but you can see they had to sit through some heat there. And you actually had a setup here on the 1 minute chart right here, breaking the super trend right here. It's in line for the short. Back here, it was not in line for the short, based on, what we use for our criteria on the stochastic. So realistically, you could short under this super trend here, anticipating support being this, 35 vicinity. Or if you look at it on the 8 range chart, then we actually had another setup as well. So in looking here, this is what this probably would have looked like at the time. Right, resistance here. This area here is support, trades through. So now this area becomes support, and then you get your breaking of this area of support on the cumulative delta right here as you're breaking the super trend stop. And once you're in and it starts to approach this area here where I have these 2 pink lines here, you can see that the sellers are still, holding it in that general area, but they're not able to push it through here yet. And you can see it establishes back here an area of support, right? You can see it's holding here, trying to get through, tries to bounce higher, and that's realistically sellers taking some profits, and then sellers step in again, and then I would wind up moving this under this area right here. Sellers step up again, and then you're looking at the area of yesterday's close as your target area. And realistically, on this retracement, you would have been stopped out. And also looking at the 15-minute. So here's today on a 15-minute, and here's that area that we marked for the bottoming tail on the 5-minute chart. And this you could see pretty clearly here, lots of support in that area. So unless you had the momentum, like I was saying, you realistically wouldn't have taken it as a breakdown. But if you had another type of setup in that area, such as this, or here's the 8 range. Let me get that real quick. So here's the 8 range on NQ, and this would have been actually a valid entry short off the 8 range there, coinciding with what we saw on our 1 minute, and then looking to support, and then support, and then support. And again, lining it up with the cumulative delta, breaking the support areas, or holding resistance. So I hope you find that helpful. Hopefully I see you tomorrow at the webinar, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care, you guys.